So by the way, I want to look at this building. Ooh, it's so spectacular. All right. I'm liking this. Look at these steps. Think about the humans that have stepped up these steps over the centuries. Wow, look at this place.
What a beautiful Airbnb.
Could be. Ooh.
And this is your view, like downtown. Yeah.
Completely, totally fabulous. Sweet. I love it.
Well, this is where the Masons would meet.
This is where the Masons would meet.
This is a tree. Ready?
Wow.
Isn't this phenomenal?
What a space.
Look at the draperies. Look at the ceiling. Look at the building. Like this right here. But look at the molding. Actually, this is probably where they had the meetings. Yeah.
Boy, the stories this building could tell.
Right? Look at the solid wood doors.
Solid wood doors, original doorknobs. That's cool. Old tin ceilings.
Look at the cornices there.
Wow, the kitchen.
Isn't this cool? And look at the river view.
Auglaize River. Yep. Spectacular. Sweet.
See, they all have to be redone, you know.
Yeah. Oh, it'd have to be a labor of love, the work and the commitment to bring this place back to life. But how fascinating! Those old lath ceilings, and look at this old relic that's been sitting here for. Can you imagine what this floor, this prize, as you say, would look like restored? Look at this entranceway here. That wood.
I know, it's fantastic.
Oh my God. So cool. Wow. 1896 toilet paper. We're on the 3rd level now. Look at these 20-foot ceilings.
Look at the doors. Oh. Okay, here you go. Here you go.
Circuit board. Wow. That door's 12 feet tall. Man, what went on up here? Look at that door.
This is where they have the meetings. Yep.
Oh yeah, and there's a stage. Look at that.
Look at your view.
Yeah. There's the view of, downtown Wapak, where the Masons met. Oh.
Okay, now look at this. Yeah, look at this. So here's a building. Now look at this. It's like
That's
a
all
ladder.
building.
Look at this ladder that goes up to.
Oh, what is that up there?
I don't know. It's like it's a projector or somebody looking out because. Look, it's a lookout.
Oh yeah, reel-to-reel film back in the 30s.
See this, Karen?
Wow. Grand Order of the Masons, the original wallpaper.
Transit windows are like awesome.
It's fascinating. Back to square one. This is so cool. There's that Grand Order of Masons club that was on the wallpaper.
Thank you.
Hey, how do you like downtown Wapakoneta?
Love it.
It's we're here. Think about the people who crawled up these steps over the decades.
drinking,
Yeah.
calm down. So this would have been the peephole door.
The peephole door. That's like once the meetings are we call this speakeasy, and once they were into their groove, they peek through here to who's out there, who wants in, kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Isn't that fun?
It's neat they left it.
Yeah. Yeah, we're very fortunate. And then this is the original ballroom.
The ballroom. This was a speakeasy area during Prohibition, the 1920s. Hardwood floors original, of course. Look at those window frames.
That's my pipe dream.
Those are well preserved.
Yes.
Really well preserved.
I'm so blessed by
Oh my God, look at the tin ceilings.
all original.
All original and that wood support.
The lighting is actually the original light fixtures. They were
Wow.
gas lights that have been converted to electric.
What a beautiful space.
Yeah.
My God, I mean, every old building needs its share of restoration and attention.
Yeah.
This one, although a lot of work, is very well along here. I mean, it's very well preserved.
Yes. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
I think because everybody who's owned it had the same vision of keeping it to original and keeping it to where it can be restored.
And you and your husband bought this building.
Yes.
It's so interesting.
Such a blessing.
What a fascinating find. Good for you.
Kind of a gem, isn't it?
Oh, it's
And it just
it's
keeps
beautiful.
going. It's huge.
What you could do with this area. I see you're already doing, but
Well,
you need a place to put this stuff,
yes.
and you've got that. But
Yes.
this is cool. Think about what it would have been like to have been here in 1924
Yes.
through the what they call it, the Roaring '20s.
The Roaring 20s, yep.
And he went during Prohibition when alcohol was illegal, and they'd sneak up here and do their thing, as long as you passed the peephole. Has a lot of people seen this? I mean, have you showed a lot of people? Do people ask if they can come up?
People ask, we don't show it a whole lot. We actually have a hidden spaces tour.
This was really cool. I mean, to me, this is a really wise investment,
Yes. Yes.
and I'm rooting for you guys.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Am I
We
going?
may have the only elevator in town now that's original too.
I was gonna say something about that. I thought.
And it was told to them by Mrs. Armstrong's, Viola, Neil's mother.
Her name was Viola?
Yes.
Oh, I love that.
And Steve and Neil, Steve her husband, and Neil had gone to Lima. And Neil took his flying lessons at the airport just north of town. And on the way home, there had been an accident. There were ambulances and so forth. And so they stopped, and one of Neil's best friends who was taking his pilot's training with Neil, went to land and caught the electric lines and that would have crossed the landing area and flipped his plane. And Neil jumped out of the car and said, "Dad, I gotta stay," and went over and held this young man's head and hand and stayed with him until he passed away. Well, Stephen came on home. It was about noon, knowing that his wife was going to have lunch ready, and walked in the back door, and she said, "Where's Neil?" And he said, "He'll be along in a little bit." And he said, "There's been an accident at the airport," and Neil wanted to stay. So 45 minutes, an hour, whatever later, Neil came in the back door. The back door was a wooden screen door, which just had a spring on it. That's how it closed. The door banged, and Neil walked in through the back porch, in through the kitchen, and up the stairs. He went to the top of the stairs, and that's where his room was. He went in and shut the door, and stayed there for about 36 hours. And Mama couldn't stand it any longer, and she said to her husband, do you think I should take him a sandwich and a glass of milk? Well, I guess it'd be all right. So she fixed him a sandwich, grabbed a glass of milk out of the refrigerator, went up to the top of the stairs and tapped on the door. Now you have to understand, Viola was a very quiet, dignified little lady. And she said, may I come in? And he said, yes. And so she opened the door and she went in and she had the sandwich, and I think even took a cookie with her, but had the milk, and sat down on the bed. And she said, your dad told me what happened. And she said, I'm so sorry that you lost your best friend. And I know that's tough. But she said, you know, I know you love to fly, and you've always loved airplanes ever since you were about 3 years old, when Dad took you on your first airplane ride. And she said, Dad, and I just want you to know that if you've got a decision here that's on your heart that you need to make, whether or not you want to continue to fly or you want to just drop it and not take flying lessons again. And she said, whatever decision you make, your dad and I will stand behind you. And with that, she walked out of the room. He ate his sandwich, drank his glass of milk, and then a few hours later came downstairs and said, I still want to fly. And that is an actual true story. Like most historical places, there are always true stories, and then there are always those stories that aren't so true, that, you know, it's been stretched a little bit. And stories that go on from this house are true stories, and they can be documented or could be from the family. So,
Well, I can see how that was true and became true because Neil Armstrong learned to fly.
it definitely learned to fly.
Absolutely.
Out of this world. As a young man in a history class learning about Orville and Wilbur, that the young man that lived in this house decided to fly.
And how ironic, both families from Ohio, the Wright brothers from Dayton and nearby Dayton, and Neil Armstrong from Wapakoneta. I mean,
So the fabric from the Wright brothers' plane went to the moon. Neil took it in his
that's so
pocket.
cool. That's so
Was
cool.
able to get a piece.
I can't stand it. I gotta go upstairs. I want to see the room. I love how this is preserved. You know, it's so well preserved. The big high, tall baseboards, all original. Is this it?
This is it.
Wow, it's tiny, but it's perfect.
Neil and his brother both stayed in this room. Had one single bed and a schiffer robe. Now, schiffer robe is like a closet, but that's where you hung your clothes. And back in the day, you didn't have a whole lot of clothes. That's not his flight suit.
I probably assumed that, but it sure looks good. It's appropriate. Gosh, the boyhood home and room of Neil Armstrong. Now, I'm up here in this space, and I think to myself, the thoughts that traveled through that young man's mind. He could not have known he would one day put his foot on the moon, but in his mind, he was headed in that direction. You know, this is an important space, not only in American history, but in world history. The courage it took to do that. I mean, we're talking 1969. It was July 20th when he stepped on the moon. They spent a couple hours on the surface. I just can't imagine the whole thing. I mean, I would not, if I could get in a rocket and blast off to the moon, I would choose not to do it. I guess I don't have that kind of courage. I would, you know, and to do it in 1969, I could see it's more doable today, you know, but to do it then and the risks they took. You were telling me that they didn't know they were going to have enough fuel to get back. I mean, Neil had to do some quick calculations in his head.
Right.
What do you know about that?
Well, what I do know and what I've heard was that they were having trouble finding a level place to land when they got to the moon. And they knew they had only so much fuel and so many minutes of fuel left before they just had to go back to the main capsule and come home, that they wouldn't be able to land because they wouldn't have had enough fuel to get back to the United States. So anyway, Neil did some quick calculating. They moved the space capsule and was able to land it in a level place so that they could get out of the capsule, get the moon rocks and the samples that they wanted to do, plant the flag, make that historic footprint, and then get back on board and take off to get back to the main part of the ship, and where Michael Collins was waiting. I mean, he didn't know whether he was going to be able to get him back to Earth, if he was going to have anybody with him when he came back.
That sounds like risky business to
It was
me.
very risky business. And then to top it all off, when they got hooked back up together to get everything in gear and to go, it took a ballpoint pen and Buzz Armstrong to make a connection so that the spaceship could take off and come back to Earth. So.
You know, Neil Armstrong was brilliant, by all accounts. We're talking about a kid who had his pilot's license before his driver's license.
Correct.
He went on to become a naval aviator. You know, he graduated from Purdue University. He was a university professor. He was an aeronautical engineer. A brilliant man by all accounts.
By all accounts.
I mean, yeah. We were so fortunate to have him, and his courage that went along, and the other two astronauts, all the astronauts. I mean, my God.
But I never met Neil, unfortunately. Neil was a very private man.
But he never reached out to you and saying, "Hey, you own the home while he was still alive.
No.
Can I go back inside my house?" No? Okay.
And the family, I met his sister and she was here, and Neil was still living at the time, and I said, if Neil wants to come, you know, that's fine, just call me and we'll make arrangements for him to come, and I don't have to tell anybody he's coming. But the timing just didn't work out. Now, I did meet Buzz Aldrin, who was here at the house.
Who walked on the moon?
Who walked on the moon with Neil.
He planted the second boot.
And Buzz was here, and I can remember when he stepped out of the car in front of the house, he just looked at it and he said, wow, nobody did anything with my boyhood home like this. And then he came upstairs and he had presented me with the picture that's the astronaut over here on the wall.
Oh, he signed it.
Yes.
Buzz Aldrin. In other words, he had a high appreciation for the lady that's helping to preserve this iconic piece of history, Neil Armstrong's home.
He presented me with the picture, and I already knew where I was going to put it and had the nail in the wall. So before he gave it to me, I handed it to, and I don't remember who, but handed it to somebody. They ran back in the house and hung it on the wall so that when he came up, his picture was hanging in Neil's bedroom. And he walked in the door, and of course he saw it right away, and the tears just rolled down his cheeks. You know, he was very touched, just to know that he was part of history and part of this history right now, and to have been here. His home has been bought within the last year and is currently being restored.
Thank God.
In New Jersey, and will also be used.
That's a
as
cool
part of
story.
history.
Super cool story. I'm so glad you shared that with us. I assume you get people that want to see the house. I mean,
Of course, there's
mean,
always different ones.
I
that-
feel special having been selected to come inside the Boyhood home because I know it's privately owned, your home, your space, and I thank you so kindly for inviting me in today. I'm really grateful.
Thank you. You're quite welcome.
Do you ever just, I don't know, step in here at night and think about what happened here? I mean,
Well, as I told Deb a little bit ago, I'm one of the few people in town that can lay in bed in the house that Neil Armstrong grew up in, be in his parents' bedroom, and I can look out the window and see the moon when it's a full moon. So, you know,
sweet.
that is something special. A gentleman asked me one day, he said, what's it like to sleep in the house that Neil Armstrong slept in? And my answer to him was, what's it like to sleep in the house where you live? He said, I don't know, I sleep in the doghouse.
Well, this is a mighty fancy doghouse.
But, you know, it is an honor and a privilege, and you do think about it. I mean, just the first time I read the story I told you earlier from Guidepost magazine, I could hear the back door slam when I started it. I could hear the footsteps coming up the steps and the door shut.
What do you mean the footsteps and the door
When
shut?
Neil came from the accident, from the airport, he walked in the back door, and the back door had a screen door on it, and the screen door shut. And of course, screen doors back then shut with a bang. They weren't like they are now on a pneumatic closure.
Sure.
And he walked up the steps. Now, if you're in an old house, the steps creak, they make a noise. And you could just hear him coming up and then shutting the bedroom door and knowing that he was in here and the anguish that was going through him at that time because he had lost a friend.
Do you hear noises when you're here that make you think, was that Neil coming up the back steps?
Not always.
No, I didn't want to turn this into a ghost story.
No, it's not a ghost
It's
story.
not a ghost story at
Yeah.
all, and I don't mean to head in that direction. It's just fascinating that you own the home.
I mean, you hear sounds.
You hear the sounds in every old
Talk,
home.
yeah, and
You
you
know?
talk to people like I'm talking to you, and you're laying there and you're thinking, what was that, or what was that noise? But
Sure.
does Neil ever come back and visit me? No.
Did you welcome him? Yes.
Of course, and she'd have a sandwich and a cookie and milk ready for
That's
him.
right, in your room.
Is that the original bath that the Armstrongs used?
Yes.
Wow. So Neil Armstrong took a bath in that tub. I don't know, that stuff fascinates me.
But this is the original sink.
Original sink?
Yeah.
Very cool.
This room was Neil's mother and dad's room.
Mother and yeah,
Master bedroom.
appropriate. Looks like a master bedroom. It's beautiful.
I mean, you can almost imagine him coming home from a date and walking up the stairs and coming in and mom saying, I'm glad you're home safe. It was a great time. Yeah. Crawling on the bed and saying,
Oh,
"Let
just
me
the
talk to you."
conversations they had
Yeah.
as parent and child. Another room here. Sister's room?
His sister, this was her room, and unfortunately, she shared this room with her grandmother because
Really?
the grandmother moved in with
Was that Neil's mom's mom or Neil's dad's mom?
his mother's mother.
Mm-hmm. I love it. You have done a magnificent job restoring this home, and I think you are to be commended for preserving this chunk of history. I mean, the place is just beautiful.
Well, when I bought the house and I found out who lived here, there was a lot to be done, and yet I didn't want to take away from the integrity of the house.
I had a question for you, and that is, has like PBS, public broadcasting, or some documentarist of any type or nature reached out to you, say, hey, we want to come and do something on the home? Or
Actually, PBS has done a story about
Have
the
they?
house.
Oh, they
And
beat me to
also,
it.
NASA has been here, and I did a presentation with them for the 50th anniversary.
Have there been any other requests from someone we might consider important people? President of the United States,
I
or
got a letter from the president,
did you really?
from President Trump, yes.
Really?
No,
Did he sign it?
Yes. It's
Wow.
hanging on the wall.
Oh, I got to see that.
But,
So why did President Trump send you a letter?
because I sent a letter to him inviting him to come for the 50th anniversary and making it available for him to come and see the house.
And he sent you a letter.
He sent me a letter thanking me for the invitation, but
What's cool is that he answered.
he answered. It's
That's sweet. Can I see that letter?
these are lights. These are the light switches. These are all original.
Okay, well, I want to turn the light switch that Neil Armstrong turned. Something like one of the knobs on Apollo 11, I'm sure. I don't think so.
Here's one in his room right there.
Oh, yeah, I might as well. If I'm going to turn one, I got to turn Neil's
the real
switch.
one.
Yeah, how cool.
Okay, there's President Trump's
Oh,
letter.
he sent that to you? Wow. That's really cool. And there's his signature?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Congratulations.